January 2019. Chicago, Illinois. A kid named Samuel who's yet to realize he has a dream. No aspirations yet, but every inch of his disposition oozes talent, mechanical gift, hunger, and future greatness. November 2018. Somewhere in Pennsylvania, history will be written. Strength. Determination. Grit. Resilience. Passion. Heart. Heartbreak. Drama. Winning. Losing. Glory. Devastation. Rivalry. History. It's a tale as old as time, but it's a story with no ending. Today, we write the next page of the story.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Ladder League Top 8. Today we have the first match of the top 8 quarterfinals between the 4 seed SCYNOR and the 5th seed SCYNOR. My name is Flaming Laser, and I'm here on comms with Saber.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, today we're gonna have probably one of the biggest rivalries in all of speedrunning in another tournament match where the loser faces elimination. SCYNOR and WIISUPER have a actually crazy history. They have played in 7 different tournament matches against each other. Right now, SCYNOR is leading 4-3, but we'll see if that is able to change today.
Yeah, and like we said, this is the second elimination match of the bracket, so there are 3 other matches that will be happening here over the next few days. So just taking a look at the other matches going on, for the first match, we have the top seed Frostbite against Dragon, who qualified through the wild card time. And then we also have Harazmi and Anorak with the 3 and 6 seed. And then second seed Jared and 7th seed Mr. Flaming Laser himself. So, Laser, looking at it in the context of all of these matches, would you say that today's quarterfinal match is probably the one with the most history, the most intense build-up for a match to be happening in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you there. Out of all of the quarterfinal matches, this one is the only one where both runners have a history of playing in a top eight bracket. The only other runner in the top eight who has a history being Jared. So yeah, I would say that this matchup is definitely one to be excited for, and we actually have no idea how it's gonna turn out.
Yeah, yeah, and even just taking a look at how some of these runners have competed, the level they've competed at during the ladder, we have seen kind of a mixed result where we have some outlier times from SCYNOR getting a 227 in week 2, but then WIISUPER getting a really good week 5 time with a 220. Otherwise, they've been hovering around a similar 223 to 224 range. So I actually think that we're going to be in for a treat and that this could end up being one of the closest matches of the quarterfinals.
Yeah, as you said, both runners have had some good performances and then also some bad performances. Justin, as we saw in week 5, qualifying with a very strong time of 2:20:58. Um, and then I think Senior's best time of the ladder so far being a low 2:20. But
Yeah.
even that gap, it doesn't actually mean anything since we all know exactly how hard TCS any percent is to play, especially in a no reset format where anything can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely a crucial match for either of these runners, especially considering years ago these would have probably been the finalists and that, they have been finalists in competitions like this before. So this is definitely going to be a very intense match and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, looks like we're gonna get started in a couple minutes or so. Both runners on the title screen right now.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe we are
speaking
ready to
of
do a countdown.
yeah, speaking of like you mentioned that these two runners have been in a finals before. SCYNOR actually being a two times winner of a TCS any percent tournament, while Justin actually has not won. He has been a finalist for two tournaments now, one where he has lost to SCYNOR, and then the other where he has lost to Zach.
Yeah, and for a runner who is as experienced as WIISUPER, I'm sure that for him, he is feeling a little bit of pressure, even just early on in this match, just to see if he can stay alive in the quarterfinals, this being already a tough match, to see if he can potentially end up being a finalist again in this tournament. And the runners are already off into negotiations.
Yeah, we haven't talked so much about like which side of the bracket, um, like this, because both of these runners, being the 4 and 5 seeds, are on the top side of the bracket, meaning the winner of this race will play the winner between Frostbite and Dragon, the 1 and 8 seeds respectively. But I just wanted to mention that this top side bracket has been looking quite a bit stronger. So even after one of these runners win, they will be in for a tough match uh, for the semifinals.
Yeah, and it's a tough match either way because they're either facing the 1 seed Frostbite or even Dragon in the 8 seed who has been putting up some incredible times throughout the ladder and also just PBs outside of that. While we're just entering this first level of negotiations, I would like to remind all of the viewers that we will have a very exciting announcement happening after this match. So be sure to stay tuned until the end for an awesome LEGO speedrunning announcement, which is just super hyped that we have all of these awesome events coming over the summer.
So far, pretty standard negotiations from both runners. both losing studs properly with player 1, and also both on 1 heart with player 2. But it looks like the level should end quite normally.
Yeah, looks like we actually had matching 1-1 exits from the runners, and both getting 208s, which is just what you would like to see in their position. Neither of them going to be disappointed in that.
Yeah, 208 is especially solid for a no reset. I think both of these runners would love to see a 208, even in normal attempts, so nothing to complain about here.
Yeah, absolutely. Something interesting that we will have to keep an eye on is Justin, at least more recently, I believe, has switched over to episode 1 resets, whereas previously in Ladder League, he was still resetting after episode 2 and doing the old Jedi battle manipulation. So that will definitely be something to keep an eye on, just between his invasion time and then even if he is super familiar once we get to those Jedi battle seeds.
Yeah, for normal attempts, Justin definitely preferred to do the episode 2 reset Jedi Battle Seeds, since they are quite a bit faster. Um, if you manage to land on one of the good seeds, I should say. But in a no reset like this during a tournament where the runners are forced to save, the episode 1 reset route does save a considerably larger amount of time since um, the episode 2 reset route is only fast, or like somewhat fast because of save cancels.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know if he would still choose to do something different, just even given how he's been playing in the previous Ladder League matches, and also, he might factor that decision because he just had a pretty solid Invasion Room 1. SCYNOR falling off of Waterfall Jump, having to back that up by forcing the platform, which gives Justin a slight lead in an otherwise like dead tied race so far in these first few minutes.
Ooh, that is unfortunate. A log jump miss from SCYNOR. Believe it or not, he was actually practicing this level right before the match started. Does not look like the practice helped at all.
Yeah, especially from the Invasion CG holder, I believe. Not great to see such time loss and losing what was just a completely tied match and losing quite a few seconds here.
We are gonna see a bit of a strat difference here. SCYNOR going for drop gymnastic here. This drop and warp saves between 2 and 3 seconds, actually getting the fastest version of the trick where he gets an instant redrop in on player 1 to hit the transition. That was incredibly fast, and he is definitely going to be making up some of the time that he lost with that skip.
What is the optimal amount that you can save? So say just SCYNOR's attempt right there, about how much time did he save over just completely neglecting drop gymnastic?
I think in this level it's going to save just under 3 seconds. Um, but that time save assumes you do an auto dropout in room 1 of escape, but I don't think SCYNOR actually goes for that. He just likes to drop out the second player.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
he's not going to be getting the full extent of the time save.
Yeah, and it does look like just from that invasion, we're seeing a 7-second gap. And we didn't make note of it, but I believe both runners did save after negotiations, so we don't have to take into account any sort of time penalties.
Yeah, that is always nice to see. It makes it easier on us, the commentators, not having to like manually subtract or add, I should say, time for each split.
Heading into Escape, this is commonly known as the most boring and auto-scroll-like level in the game that you actually have to put effort into and play. Definitely one of the easiest. Nothing really notable should happen here. I don't think we're going to be seeing any ground shots, or really we shouldn't even see much time variance between these couple of runners. It would be rare to see a camera pan skip miss or anything like that.
I believe SCYNOR actually does go for one-player ground shots. I know we had T-Fresh in the latter stage going for the two-player version of the ground shots, which is the fastest version to do the room, but it is also the most difficult by far. But we should see SCYNOR going for one-player ground shots here. Yeah, very nicely done.
Yeah, that
Should
was
be
very, very
saving
clean.
a little bit. I was gonna say actually should be saving a little bit to Justin in the split, but he did have to drop out in room one, so maybe it'll be about even. Oh, I spoke too soon. SCYNOR missing the camera pan skip. That's gonna give Justin a couple more seconds to work with.
That is a very frustrating skip to miss because it is very easy to do, and so it can just kind of affect you mentally when something so simple goes wrong like that. It's just something you kind of have to look past and go into the next level, especially when you're coming up on a level like pod race.
Yeah, honestly, the story of this tournament so far, um, with almost all of the runners in top 8 implementing God Fraud, um, this is definitely a level that can make or break this race. Both runners, I believe, will be going for the full God Fraud, both laps 1 and 3, and this is definitely a place where the lead can either grow for Justin or completely change in the opposite direction.
Yeah, and I haven't been able to catch every single match that has happened, but have either of these runners had any problems with doing full God Fraud in previous matches?
From the races I've seen, I actually don't believe any of the like either of them have hit full God Fraud. Usually, what happens is they will get like lap 1 and then miss lap 3, or miss lap 1 and then get lap 3. And then in the case of Justin, he actually missed Pod Fraud one time, having to restart the level. But looks like Justin got the clip out of bounds for lap 1. Not an ideal height boost. I think this still works.
Yeah, should
Okay.
be fine.
Ooh, not hitting the mid-tro. This could... Oh, okay. Pops back in bounds, and
But
SCYNOR
SCYNOR
not
misses
getting
as well.
clip at all. I think Justin's gonna be breaking about even with just not going for the trick at all, because he did get a small speed boost, but then SCYNOR losing a couple seconds.
Yeah, Justin was in a bit of an unfortunate spot there that he didn't quite have the right height from the out of bounds boost. To me, that is one of the hardest parts of the trick, is not hitting the collision weird or even hitting your ship's head almost on collision and just not getting the height that you need in order to hit the trigger for the mid-lap trigger.
Yeah, I think Justin actually popped back inbounds on purpose since he didn't not hitting the mid-tro, the Tusken Raider cutscene can be very, very bad. It like and try and go for it again. It's very easy to just have too much speed and then you will just go past the spot for pod fraud. But Justin getting
SCYNOR
a
with a
pretty clean
crazy
pod.
recovery. I don't know if you saw that, but he looked like he was about to be going backwards after doing normal zero death pod fraud when he was out of bounds. By the camera angle, I actually thought that it was over for him. He was
Yeah.
able to get the dropout and then able to just turn really quickly with his player one to save that out of bounds.
And while talking about that, Justin gets the clip out of bounds for lap 3 and gets a essentially perfect lap 3 skip. SCYNOR also getting lap 3 skip. Wow, okay. So both runners missing lap 1, but then hitting a very clean lap 3.
Yeah, I would almost say, I mean, looking at the time now, we're talking only a 1 second difference in these pod races, which is really great to see that overall that did not have too much of an effect on the race because for either one of them at different points in that pod race, that could have gone way worse than it did.
Yeah, Justin saving uh, potentially ending up backwards from having too much speed on lap 1, and then SCYNOR managing to not pop back in bounds and rubber band on lap 2. Very good saves by both runners.
Yeah, absolutely. We're heading into Feed, which is one of the harder earlier levels in the run, just between the first couple of episodes. Very technically challenging throughout, especially to play at a high level. And over the last couple of years, the meta of strats has also developed where more people are doing left side. There's now the new Feed hanger strats. But all of this also means that there can be a lot of variance, and it's a very difficult level to play close to your gold every single time.
Yeah, especially with like the new hanger strat, for example. People have honestly been practicing this level quite a bit, so we should see both runners be mostly comfortable with all the new stuff. Justin getting a very quick speeder clip, or theater clip, I should say.
Yeah, good thing that that went well for him, hopefully for SCYNOR as well, because this is one of those tricks that we've seen mess some people up just in their own runs, where depending on, a droidica can really mess you up and push you with the speeder. Lots of things can happen to just make that clip go super wrong and kind of cause you to spiral out of control. Justin is having some issues with a droidica, not allowing him to stand on the buttons, and visually SCYNOR is on the buttons first.
Yeah, that's one of the downsides for Justin playing double keyboard. In that room, if you just pan the camera upright, you are able to get your AI characters to hit the button even if the droidicas are in that position. But since he plays on double keyboard, he is not able to do that. And also not getting the R2 call, and wow, he's losing a lot of time in this room.
Taking a
And
death.
SCYNOR taking a lead.
Yeah, SCYNOR also taking a death right on the panel, but Justin not being able to find R2 and then also taking a death himself. So far, I mean, it's a little bit of time loss for both runners, but that definitely has fallen mostly on Justin. SCYNOR with a very clean left side.
And then Justin getting sniped as he's jumping up for left side. Honestly, not the worst thing in the world. Gets a heart reset on player 2. But if he gets sniped here with player 1, could be very disastrous. Managing to live.
Yeah, probably
And
better to take the death there. I mean, a little unfortunate, but while his player 2 was dead, he was just starting to do left side with player 1. So ultimately, probably better just to have the hearts and focus more on just one player during left side.
he definitely did get shot after making that jump across with player 2, so the 4 hearts definitely benefiting.
Yeah, that can cause a disaster, which I believe we might have seen during a ladder league match where somebody did left side but then took a death and ended up then struggling to even get up the elevator. I believe somebody actually re-attempted left side after failing it during one of the ladder league matches.
Yeah, I believe that person actually was me, and that did happen to me 2 matches in a row. So I
I
can speak from
apologize.
experience on how bad taking a death there can be.
I did
But
not
we see
remember.
SCYNOR going for the hanger strat, manages to keep the right guy alive. All he has to do is get a slash here. He's going to get a force push, so very clean hanger as long as you can get the cutscene movement here. Oh, not managing to force the Naboo Starfighter, and he is not going to be saving time with the strat. Justin not going for it at all. I can't tell if he accidentally shot one of the guys. Judging on how far R2
Yeah.
is, that's probably what happened. But yeah, neither runner getting the camera pen skip. Or not camera pen skip, camera pen movement.
Yeah, and luckily Justin, being experienced, knows that if his player is further back that he needs to drop it out. Otherwise, you can have R2-D2 get an auto dropout, and then it loses a lot more time. So even though he didn't get the hanger that he wanted, he was still able to react to mediate the time loss a little bit. And this is a huge swing from Feed. We went from SCYNOR being 13 seconds behind to now Justin is 18 seconds behind. So a 31-second swing in Theed Palace.
Yeah, wow. A 5-16 is not what you'd like to see if you're Justin here. But based on what happened in maybe Button Room alone, I can see why that time occurred. He lost so much time in Button Room just because of those two Droidicas that ultimately gives SCYNOR a massive lead.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we talked about just at the start, even before this match and every single match in the top 8 has so much more significance. We are on to single elimination. This match determines if you're out of the tournament or if you get to move on to the semifinals. Everything matters. So even this little early lead that SCYNOR now has, he needs to hold on to that as much as he can. Just given the performance throughout the ladder, Justin has been generally putting up slightly stronger times. So anything that he can take, he needs to hold on to if he wants to potentially win this match.
Yeah, for sure. SCYNOR being known for his early game, um, being in a lead here can definitely be demotivating for Justin. But we all know Justin has an exceptionally good late game, episode 5 especially. So if anyone was to make a comeback, it would be him.
Yeah, absolutely. So far, very clean Darth Mauls from both runners. Really no issues. We had first try lamp jumps and nothing else notable happening throughout this level, which is what you like to see. There's a lot of little factors and things that could go wrong, or even like a missed lamp jump can kind of get in your head. But I would say for these experienced runners, some of those tricks that have been in runs for a long time, we're really not going to see any issues with some of those because they've just been doing these tricks for so many years that their practice, their experience, they're used to it. So definitely showing off, which is what you want and what you expect from a top 8 competitor.
And then SCYNOR with a very clean DM3. He has an extended 1P2C that I think he's actually the only one that who's actively running that does this. But he actually slams the first Droidica with player 2 while grabbing the power up with player 1. And I think overall that strat saves a couple seconds and performing it very well.
Yeah, SCYNOR ended up getting the first cycle skip. Justin attempting them now. And also just getting the first one. Like we talked about a little bit earlier, Justin does play on double keyboard. So something interesting for a trick like cycle skips is theoretically just because of hardware, cycle skips should be a little bit easier for Justin to perform compared to SCYNOR because you're using, it's the same amount of pressure to press down a key versus trying to time that with pressing down buttons on a controller. So just that consistency of what buttons you need to press down to time the frames is a lot easier on keyboard. So I tend to see Justin hit the cycle skips more often.
Yeah, speaking of input devices, if you had a keen eye, you might have seen SCYNOR get a set of lag frames in this end cutscene. Um, because of Godfraud and the way he has his second controller connected with Bluetooth, he actually has to like disconnect the controller before doing the episode 2 reset, or his primary controller will just not work at all. So getting a set of lag frames there doesn't lose time because it's in a cutscene, but just some strange input management he has to do in order to properly play on double controller.
And luckily for SCYNOR, he is used to lag frames anyways, so this is not something that's uncommon for him, and I'm sure he's fine with the intentional lag frames. Obviously, it's a little unfortunate, but definitely not uncommon. Lag frames, it's interesting that for some runners, it seems to be a consistent issue that they run into.
Yeah, and out of episode 1, the gap extended from 18 seconds to 20 seconds, SCYNOR having a slightly better maul. I think both runners hit first try lamp, both runners hit one out of the 2 cycle skips, so ultimately the difference between them all might have been that extended 1P2C that SCYNOR does.
Yeah, and that extended 1P2C did go very well. Sometimes when you jump off of the top platform to slam down, if your controllers aren't aligned, or sorry, if your characters aren't aligned, or if one of the droidicas pushes you off because of the force field surrounding it, you can just have little things that can go wrong. But him performing it very cleanly, I think that exactly right. That was the couple of seconds that he saved over Justin.
Yeah, into BHP, this is kind of a different level to what we've seen so far. Especially with these light rooms, definitely possible for either of the runners to make up time compared to the other.
Absolutely. I think that, oh, SCYNOR already missing a light, but backs it up quickly. I think that the depth perception for hitting the lights in BHP is one of the more underrated and randomly difficult things. SCYNOR also having trouble with some of the auto targeting. His first target did not hit right away, and so he tried to do it with the other player, but that ended up causing issues with which ship was targeting which turret, while Justin had a much cleaner first room.
Yeah, Justin definitely closing the gap a little bit. SCYNOR having 2 torpedoes entering the section. I'm interested to see if he actually ends up using any of them.
Oh,
Looks
he
like
just shot one
threw
of them.
one. Maybe trying to get the mini kit in this room, perhaps. But not gonna help him out with his split.
Yeah, trying to figure out how to make BHP a 1 visit in AM. But BHP as a whole, I would say is one of the harder 1P2C levels to play optimally, just because of how quickly the ships move, and it's just such an open plane, and you would think you have so much control over it, but that ends up being more difficult to play it optimally. We saw SCYNOR missing the light initially, does end up getting it, but I believe he still has a turret that he needs to kill in the bottom left.
Does manage to get rid of it without losing much time, but not the BHP that SCYNOR wanted to see.
And of course, Justin giving us some very fun facts, as he typically does in the second light room.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, you actually can leave the middle light or the middle turret alive on the top right set, and it will still progress the level.
That gap has now shrunk from 20 seconds to just 11 seconds. Justin just having a much cleaner time. I don't think he missed any of the lights. It was just a solid BHP overall. And SCYNOR just having just a couple of instances of missing a light or not killing a turret when you were supposed to. He had to take a little bit more time, but it is interesting to just see, like, that can cause 9 seconds of time loss in a level where you wouldn't think it would be that big of a swing.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if Justin actually ended up golding that level, because a 407 is not bad at all, and Justin not doing the episode 1 reset in normal attempts, so honestly might have been a gold.
SCYNOR getting R4 fly first try. Justin missing it, entered the no-fly zone. So he lost all of his height with R4, but does get it second try.
Yeah, difference in strat there very slightly. SCYNOR doing the controller version of R4 fly using the stick, and Justin doing the keyboard version where you have to manipulate the camera. And then as you saw on the second attempt, he had to wait for the camera to fully adjust since he had already missed and the camera was not normal. But
Yeah.
SCYNOR very clean. Oh,
Ooh, that was
almost
weird at
falling
the
out of
end.
bounds. Yeah, losing out on the force push here, but still relatively clean Camino button skip from SCYNOR.
Yeah, I don't know if I've actually ever seen anyone in that position where he was out of bounds. He just needed to go further right. He almost was not allowed back into the collision, but both runners not having a disaster in Camino button skip. So again, maintaining the relative closeness, being within about 10 seconds of one another, which is shaping up to be a really good race so far.
Yeah, so going into this next room, since both runners are doing the episode 1 reset seeds, we are going to need to pay attention to how many droids they end up killing, since how many droids spawn in that room is something that increments the value used for the Jedi Battle seeds. So I think both of these runners will be looking to kill between 1 and 3 droids.
Yeah.
Usually on the lower end is better.
I believe another strat difference we are about to see here is drop Chim Warp from Justin. I believe he usually goes for it in attempts, so we'll have to see if he does it here. It looks like he is going for it. Very rare that we see this strat. Not many runners go for it in general.
Yeah, the reason for that being it only really being fast if you have controller player 2. Just actually missing it there, not going to be saving time with the skip. But due to the character spawns you get in the next room and wanting to have Obi-Wan as close to the power-up as possible, the strat is only really fast if you have controller player 2.
Yeah, and I believe SCYNOR had slight trouble during Camino clip, so I'm not sure how many droids he killed. Justin has killed 1 so far. That's 2, 3.
Is that third? That
I
is
believe
not.
that's
Oh, this could be
3.
really bad. He's already killed 3 and he still has the power-up. Okay, not going to be more than 3, but having major troubles with the skip. This is really not the Camino that you wanted to see from Justin.
Yeah, this is the trick where if you mess it up and then you lose the power-up, it can be really hard to adjust to it, but it does look like he's going to be out of bounds there. And I think he ended up still only killing 3. That could have been a lot worse for his Jedi battle.
Yeah, the problem with killing 3 is the difference between seeds 3 and 4 is actually a it's very major. Seed 3 being much faster. And you might ask, if he only killed 3, how is he going to end up on seed 4? You can actually get a Cantina spawn while entering BHP, and if he does end up getting a Cantina spawn, that will increment the value by 1, putting him on seed 4.
Absolutely, that is something we'll have to keep in mind. And like I said, I am not really sure how many SCYNOR ended up killing, but I think from the brief glimpse that I saw of him doing Camino clip, I think he had some troubles as well getting it second try. So not as bad as Justin, but again, I'm not sure how many droids that ended up killing.
Yeah, entering Droid Factory. This isn't really something that I want to talk about. I don't want to speak it into existence, but Justin losing a lot of time in the Camino clip room, that could potentially be a really bad way to cause a soft lock in the turnstile room. I think he should be fine since he did the episode 1 reset, which means you're going to be, like, for the gizmo soft lock value, you're going to be lower than you would be if you didn't do it. So he most likely is still fine, but that is something to look out for, as that could, like, almost guarantee SCYNOR the race right away.
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of those things where if that happens early on, it can have a huge effect. We saw that happen last year to Evan during the ladder league. So you never like to see it, and as a commentator, you never want to speak it into existence. And just as we're getting into Droid Factory, as a reminder, this is the quarterfinals of Ladder League. This is the top 8. The 4 seed SCYNOR against 5 seed WIISUPER. And another awesome reminder that after this match, immediately following, we will have another exciting LEGO announcement. So make sure you guys stick around, not only for this awesome race that we have going on, but also for the news immediately following.
Yeah, SCYNOR managing to get through that room without dying to Fred the Droideka. Always what you like to see. And I'm interested to see if any of these runners go for the bucket fly. SCYNOR's not going for it. I don't think Justin's going to go for it either, so looks like we're not going to be seeing it.
Yeah, another
But
interesting
that is a
thing.
strat that is becoming a little bit more relevant.
Yeah, yeah, and if you notice there, Justin did in fact take a death. He does not do the 1P2C at the beginning of Droid Factory, so he entered room 2 on only 2 hearts, which means that you are very likely to take a death to Frederick.
Yeah, now SCYNOR entering the cave. This is usually where like the biggest variance is in this level. I expect both runners to go for not the new strat, but at this point it is like almost 3 years old. But dropping in R2 and then switching to 3PO instead of doing the older strat where you just fly with R2.
Yeah, I do think that that is a lot more common nowadays. It also makes it a lot easier to not take a death to one of these droidekas because you do get a slam in, although SCYNOR just not even going for it. Maybe it's because he didn't have the power up and also just to
Wow,
save a
did
little
you
bit of
see that?
time.
R2's AI just deactivated the droideka, and I think that actually saved him a death because he was on 1 heart with R2. That droideka
Wow.
almost definitely would have shot him.
That is just one of those lucky AI moments. I think an upcoming Dexter Jetster video should be just surrounding AI character moments in LEGO Star Wars speedrunning. You can take my ideas freely. I only want a slight amount of the profits from that video.
Yeah, SCYNOR with a very, very clean droid factory. It looks like he's just going to be extending his lead even further. I wouldn't be surprised if it's almost a minute at this point.
Yeah, it definitely has been a worse droid factory from Justin. I don't think it's been terrible. And he was able to kill both of the droidekas, but he did have that death earlier on, so I do think we'll see a couple seconds of swing. Definitely, though,
Although
SCYNOR just taking a commanding lead there.
that droid factory was honestly a lot better than I thought it would be
From
from
Justin,
Justin.
yeah. Yeah, only 1 second difference in the droid factories. Still looking at 43 seconds of difference between the runners. But SCYNOR having a bit of trouble on the first pillar of Jedi Battle.
Yeah, that first pillar is definitely, it can definitely be one of the more frustrating parts of this level, especially when the droidekas decide to just not roll towards you and then you either have to deflect, I think, like 6 bullets back at him or just slam his shield as we saw SCYNOR do, which does actually lose quite a bit of time.
He did get a phenomenal force push on the super battle droids where it basically killed all of them in one force push. So his pillar 2 was great. Oh, and Justin almost having a great first pillar until the droideka decided to stop rolling towards him and put the shield back up. And so that lost a little bit of time. Probably having pretty comparable pillar 1s for these runners.
Let's look at SCYNOR's screen to see if we can identify the seed he's on. Not seeing 2 droids here, so it doesn't look like seed 2. This maybe looks like seed 3 from the wave 1, if he gets a red droid to the right here. But yeah, decent first wave. If he's going this far right, he could be on seed 1.
I believe the chat is confirming that this is seed 3.
Okay, I was right on my first guess. Yep, going all the way right for this last set of droids. So, good Jedi battle for SCYNOR other than the first pillar.
Yeah, if we see some good waves from Justin, then we'll probably see pretty similar Jedi battles overall, and it does look like Justin is having a pretty good first wave.
Okay, looking like Justin is also on seed 3, I would like to say. I was a little bit concerned when... Yeah, okay, this is seed 3. I was a little bit concerned when he killed... Or the last battle droid from wave 1 was all the way up right. But I guess he got a lucky shot on the furthest right droid. So, good waves from Justin as well. And managing to avoid disaster by not getting a Cantina spawn.
Yeah, absolutely. Both runners getting through Jedi battle without any huge issues, which very good, especially for Justin, who had those Camino clip issues that this could have turned out a lot worse for him. So SCYNOR still maintaining basically the exact same lead exiting Jedi battle, but we might see that deficit change a little bit as we enter one of Justin's best levels that he is absolutely incredible at all the way throughout. He's the CG holder, and he's built different when it comes to this level. He's just able to execute it at such a high level every single time.
SCYNOR unfortunately taking a death in this first room. Gonna lose a bit of time.
Yeah, luckily not having any more significant issues, such as a death during first barrier skip, which that can spiral and cause just a lot of time loss considering how long it can take to take a death off of the cliff's edge. So far SCYNOR, other than that death, just having a very, very good gunship. This final room going very well.
Yeah, Justin also on 2 hearts here, not able to pick one up. He's gonna be taking the exact same death as SCYNOR. But going for the slightly faster version of second barrier skip, where he did a 180 instead of a 360.
Yeah, and even that death that Justin took, at some point when you're playing gunship, you kind of just accept the death sometimes because it's a lot quicker to just keep moving instead of, if you don't get a heart, trying to slow down to avoid the lasers. Just keep it moving, accept the death, and just mitigate that time loss. So of course it causes a little bit compared to what would usually happen if you're able to get the heart drops. But between these runners, it looks like Justin will still probably have a slightly better gunship.
SCYNOR managing to hit Dooku skip, always a good thing to see.
Yeah, no Dooku
Hopefully we
Christmas.
see Justin hit the trick as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, SCYNOR are
absolutely.
gonna be locking in a pretty solid episode 2 exit. This is gonna be a low 41.
Yeah, I was interested in the deficit to see how much Justin made up. For some reason, we cannot see his gunship exit. And there it has come in. So it looks like we are currently looking at 50 seconds difference between these runners. So SCYNOR has basically either maintained the lead that he had or just slowly gained on it ever since he took back over the race in Theed.
Yeah, I think that Jedi Battle was one of the main parts. He got a 20 even with that really awful first pillar and saving 8 seconds to Justin in that level. But yeah, he has been playing this episode 2 just slightly better for each split.
Yeah, and that's all it takes is you don't have to necessarily be playing at your best every single level, but if you can just play slightly consistently better than your opponent, not make as big of mistakes, then that's how you compound a lead and end up being 50 seconds ahead out of 2 episodes. Now, once we get Justin's episode 2 exit Laser, would you mind throwing up our probability statistics so we can see where
Yeah,
things are
sure.
at? Because Justin does have a slightly better best possible time and a better sum of bests, but SCYNOR does have a 50-second lead, so I think it'll be really interesting to see what the numbers are saying will happen in this match.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the stats just said 50-50 completely because Justin's sub in the later half of the run is a lot better, especially because of some of his really cracked episode 5 golds, holding the CG and Falcon Flight and CCT.
Yeah, and it does look like Justin lost a couple more seconds in Dooku, so now when it comes to best possible times, we are a little bit closer as well.
But yeah, the win prediction giving SCYNOR a 51% chance to win
Wow.
and Justin a 49%. Right now, this is still anyone's race.
I mean, you called that to a T. I'm shocked that it's like almost exactly 50-50, but I guess it does make sense between Justin having a better PB and a better sum of best, but SCYNOR with a 50-second lead. I mean, so far this is just showing that like even though it's a 52-second deficit, Justin can come back from this. So SCYNOR really needs to hold this lead if he wants that 50-50 shot, if he wants that world where he does take this match home.
Yeah, and if he does want to win this match, extending his lead in episode 4 is probably the best way he can do it.
Yeah, and episode 4 is definitely one of the harder episodes. Everybody knows that. And also just has, I would say, one of some of the levels that can cause the biggest time losses that can just kind of build on each other. So Junlin being one of the most difficult levels, although runners are a bit more used to it now, but it can still cause a lot of issues with the various tricks. And of course, with DSE and Trash Skip, it's one of those tricks that, you know, a lot of runners go for nowadays and we're very used to, but it's still something that if any little things happen, it can cause a lot of time loss. So this is definitely an episode where we could see big swings either way. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with the match because of that. Secret Plans, on the other hand, is not too interesting of a level. It's a very fun level to play, but we really shouldn't see much difference between these runners, except this interesting SCYNOR time loss, not shooting the whatever it is that gets put out by the crane. He shot it and was able to get it glowing hot, but not able to explode.
Yeah, another level that might be worth mentioning is actually Spaceport. Both of these runners having massive time losses this tournament in Spaceport. SCYNOR having the hard lock, losing him multiple minutes, and then also Justin in week 1 losing multiple minutes to player 3 glitch. I think both of these runners are going to be going for the newer setup inside the pre-cantina, which most people seem to think is a bit more consistent. So hopefully we don't see any issues with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that as the months have gone on, people have gotten a little bit more used to the different setups. And so hopefully we don't see any disasters with it. I mean, when Fry Skip was found, I feel like it was a trick where, other than the player 3 glitch, it's pretty easy overall. In the grand scheme of recent tricks that have been found, if you compare that to Boom Skip or GTF, Consistent Trash Skip, Fry Skip is one of the bigger skips, but it definitely is on the easier side. So hopefully we can see successful Fry Skips from both runners.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that. From like all of the newer skips between like early 2024 and now, I would definitely say Fry Skip is one of, if not the easiest.
Yeah, and one of those other skips that has been found that we'll be seeing this next level is also the new slow force out of bounds, which runners are very adjusted to that trick now. but it is still something that has caused issues. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. And that kind of just got added to the list of everything else that's already difficult in Junlin to make that level even a little harder than it was before. Because I think even though people are used to it, I think most people would say that Slow Forced is slightly more difficult than the old Out of Bounds setups.
Yeah, despite its name, Slow Force actually not being slow in any way, shape, or form, being much quicker than the old method of getting the red brick. And we have seen most of, if not all, runners switching to this from the EJP out of bounds.
Yeah, and that's not surprising to see, because EJP Out of Bounds, obviously it is a little bit slower, but I also think that that's one of those tricks, since you try it over and over again, those can just become spiral tricks, kind of like lamp jump or anything else where you can just kind of try it over and over again until you get it. Or BBJ is another good example, that it can start to mess with you mentally if you aren't getting it. Whereas Slow Force is a one-try trick, so it's a lot different, and I think people are able to adjust to that a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting to think about, because with Slow Force being a one try, if you miss it, you do have to go for the EJP out of bounds. And I'm not sure how much practice both of these runners have put into that trick, if any at all. Um, could definitely spiral into a much bigger time loss if that did occur.
This is a bit surprising, but we had a 7-second difference in secret plans where SCYNOR just lost a little bit of time overall. I believe the Darth Vader hallway was one of them, and just a couple other areas. And Justin just had a much cleaner, um, was able to get the sub 6 secret plans. So we're down to a 45-second gap between them, which is still significant for SCYNOR to have that lead this early on, but losing 7 seconds of that lead in secret plans is definitely not what he would like to see.
Yeah, gonna be attempting Slow Force now. Gets out of bounds. Crossing the bridge. This is usually considered the hardest part of the trick. He does manage to get past it. I was a little bit worried how high he was, or how low he was, um, after like crossing, but looks like it's gonna be just fine.
Yeah, the only thing now is just the weird camera stretching in order to get the red brick. But he is able to get it.
Yeah, and a textbook Slow Force from SCYNOR right there.
Yeah, very good. Justin now going up for his attempt.
Yeah, missing the shot, but doing the slash backup. Only losing a tiny bit of time. And then Justin getting the hard part of the trick as well.
SCYNOR going for BBJ. Just not quite getting the height that he needed. Does get it second try. And Justin also having a very clean Slow Force.
Yeah, in a close race like this, that's exactly what you like to see. Because missing this trick can definitely not only lose a lot of time, but it can be draining on the mental.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the case for any of the tricks in this level, even the quicksand tricks, or if you're going for bone bridge skip, every single one of them, if you're just not in the right headspace and you start missing something, you can just cause a repeated cycle. We saw basically an exact replica for Justin's BBJ, just barely not getting enough height the first time, and then getting it second try. Almost identical Junlins from our runners so far.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you saw the start of this room from SCYNOR, but taking a while to kill the Jawas and then leaving one alive, almost zapping R2, but he does manage to punch him to death.
That is huge when you can kill them by fist instead of just shooting them. Little less humane, but does still get the job done.
We're going to see SCYNOR going for Bone Bridge skip here. Does get it. So honestly, as long as nothing ends up happening in the last room, this is... Oh, I spoke
That's
too
a
soon.
bad death from SCYNOR.
I was gonna say this is looking to be a pretty solid Junlin from SCYNOR, but taking one of the weirdest deaths on Quicksand 2 I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's probably like a 6-second death just between falling into the quicksand and then getting the respawn so much further back. I don't know that I've ever seen someone die that far into the quicksand jumps.
Yeah, I think that was literally the worst possible death he could have taken. And
Also
also missing the
struggling.
speeder clip. Okay, getting it second try before he gets shot out, but that could have been disastrous for SCYNOR.
Yeah, and Justin not taking a death, which does mean that just in these last couple of rooms, that if Justin has a clean speeder clip here at the end, he's going to make up another probably 10 seconds to SCYNOR.
Yeah, Justin being one of the only runners still going for the R2 speeder clip here. I feel like most people have transitioned to the Luke one by now, unless they are AM runners.
Yeah, absolutely. It is interesting. Justin does take his time with setting up the speeder position, but he was able to get it very consistently. So sometimes they say that consistent is slow, but slow is fast.
Yeah, Justin's saving around 10 seconds to SCYNOR's Junlid right there. So he's definitely getting rid of some of the gap.
Yeah, 33-second gap compared to 45 or 44, excuse me, from the last level. So 11 seconds that he just made up in that level. And again, this is not what you want to see if you're SCYNOR. Seeing that lead just trickle down level by level in one of the harder episodes. So it makes sense. He just really needs to bring his A game to not lose this lead. And an insane speeder clip. I don't know if you saw that, but oh my gosh.
Yeah, getting a very lucky clip. I think you're just trying to position Obi-Wan correctly and just getting the clip right away. Getting insanely unlucky with these civilians, though.
SCYNOR will be sending eviction notices to all of the members of Mos Eisley Spaceport after the crowds were hogging the streets. He was not able to do what he needed to.
And we're going to see him go for the pre-cantina setup. Gets it. First try. That is exactly what you'd like to see.
Weirdly enough, I think these 4 buttons have been a harder part of this trick compared to most other things. And I'm not going to call that commentator's curse. I think we've been seeing a lot more people failing this portion of the trick.
Yeah, just giving up on pushing him, waiting for him to get undeactivated.
Yeah,
So losing
also
quite a bit of time.
successful with the player 3 glitch. Let's see if he can have a better 4 buttons. Does manage to get his characters correct. So
Yeah, and the
Justin
gap
making up another
was-
few seconds.
The gap that was 52 seconds out of episode 2, I would say is probably under 20 now.
Yeah, this is going to be incredibly close through the middle of 4 at this point. SCYNOR just having just random rough mistakes that you don't like to see, whether it's the weird time loss in the Darth Vader hallway of secret plans, or taking a very strange death at the end of the quicksand jumps. This is not what you want to see when you're in this high stakes of a match.
Yeah, hopefully he's at least able to hold out this lead for the rest of episode 4. But even if he is still winning at that point, I would be worried if I was him.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully he's not looking too much at the splits or the run to see that Justin is gaining on him, because that can really affect you mentally as you get into some of the other episodes where Justin definitely has the sob advantage.
Yeah, Justin losing a little bit of time in, like, as soon as he exited the cantina, I was worried that might have messed up his player 3 positioning, but he seems to have gotten it just fine.
Yeah, something that we should pull up is the probability stats between these 2 runners, because we looked at it literally 3 levels ago and it was a 51-49 split. And now, just 3 levels later, you're basically looking at a 2-to-1 split. It's crazy how much this has changed in just a couple of levels. SCYNOR now with a 37% win prediction rate, and Justin up to a 63%. That is a very big swing for just 3 levels.
Yeah, in SCYNOR's own words, it's really crazy how fast you can frick up a run.
That's definitely a quote word for word. Absolutely. No censorship there.
Absolutely. But yeah. Justin leading a lot right now with the win probability. There are still a couple of levels in episode 4 that can swing that. Princess and DSE being 2 of them.
Yeah, and it is notable that the lead is now down to 20 seconds out of Spaceport. That is the deficit between these runners. Hopefully we will not see any major swings in Princess. Obviously the biggest concern here is the tractor beam, red brick, and Obi-Wan showing up on the bridge. Also a potential for losing a helmet. Those are the main things that could happen to cause major time loss. We'll probably see these runners going for the backup shots. SCYNOR about to attempt the red brick grab here. Does miss
getting
it.
Too far in, so he's going to have to get a super jump to get unstuck. And I think with this time loss in the hallway, he's going to have to go for the backup shot. Otherwise, there's a very good chance Obi-Wan just doesn't show up.
Yeah, if you have a fast enough hallway, sometimes you can risk it. Justin with a beautiful red brick grab.
Oh, and going for it, Obi-Wan luckily is there.
Yeah, and Justin is playing it safe, which I still like that decision even with the amazing red brick grab. Looks like Obi-Wan was not going to show up. So a smart decision by Justin.
Yeah, he is going to be making up even more time in the split, cutting the lead even closer.
It's notable that he's on 1 heart with Han, not really at risk of getting shot in this room, but there is definitely a chance that he can a couple rooms from now. But the aggro, and he got shot instantly upon going through the door. I mean, I don't even know why he had an aggro on him there.
Yeah, he didn't have an aggro entering the room. There were still the 2 stormtroopers in like that little nook entering the transition, and they weren't aggroed, but as soon as he hit the transition, they just instantly shot both his player 1 and his player 2. So losing a ton of time having to backtrack all the way.
Yeah, and typically, even if you get an aggro, it's from the pilots who come up the grapple. In this case, he got shot immediately. There was no chance for him to be able to react to that whatsoever. And that is like a massive, probably like 20-second time loss. Whereas SCYNOR just overall, other than the red brick grab, having a clean Princess without any major disasters.
Yes, SCYNOR also making sure to show us that you can actually push Princess Leia out of bounds in this last section. And I was worried he just wouldn't queue 40 hertz because he seemed determined to do that before queuing 40.
There are priorities here, Laser. Pushing Leia out of bounds is higher than queuing 40. Yeah, SCYNOR still managed to get a sub 4 Princess with that, which given the red brick grab is very impressive. The rest of it must have gone very well. Justin, meanwhile, getting a 419, which is not what you like to see. That's a 20-second swing.
Yeah, SCYNOR also getting sub-hour Princess, which is always something you'd like to see, especially in a no reset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, the best possible time difference through Spaceport was closer to like 40 or 50 seconds. Might have been like 40 seconds. And now only 10 seconds off. So it's just something to note here. SCYNOR does get trash skip. Interesting, he actually jumped out of bounds with Chewie, which I don't know that I've seen that before, where he kind
Yeah,
of jumped around before he was out.
actually getting the insta clip, but still shooting. I don't know if it was on purpose, but he did end up killing Chewie and have to wait for him to respawn anyways. A kind of sketchy transition hit. I think he hit his head and almost popped in bounds, but it is smooth sailing from here. Manages to get through.
I don't know if you saw that, but I don't know if Justin had a lag frame or it was his alt tab, but he had a very funny freeze frame in the opening cutscene of DSE. I hope that somebody goes back and takes a screenshot of that. It's very funny.
Well, Justin, extremely low. I was actually worried he just wouldn't
Oh, he
be
got
high
shot a
enough.
lot there, so able to still get it, but I was kind of worried. I think he got like shot 2 or 3 times as he was jumping up in the out of bounds. Oh, SCYNOR missing Ripmore, getting crushed, which is not the way that you like to go for Ripmore. Basically dying the same way a second time, and obviously this already causes more time loss because he needs to get another helmet.
Yeah, the good thing is getting this backup helmet only loses, I think, just under 10 seconds now. Almost forgetting to get it. But this does give Justin another chance to make back some time.
Yeah, Justin getting a first try Ripmore, which overall the time loss for SCYNOR is probably between 15 to 20 seconds by taking 2 deaths in Ripmore. So that deficit that happened because of Princess, most of that might have been made up, and we're looking at more of a similar gap between the runners out of DSE.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's losing over 20 to Justin. Justin has had a very solid DSE from the start up to now.
Absolutely. And I just want to call back to the funny freeze frame that I mentioned during Justin's DSE opening cutscene that is in the off-topic channel of the Complete Saga Speedrunning Discord. So anybody who missed it, please go check that out.
Yeah, fortunately for SCYNOR, he's going to be able to clutch out a helmet-full ending to this DSE. Not going to be saving him any time, but it's always nice to have some swag.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be curious to see what the deficit changes to once we see Justin's exit here. 17 seconds. That is the closest I think that we have seen it since the end of episode 2. Or I guess even since before that, since like the middle of episode 2, when SCYNOR started to really take the lead. I mean, that is a 23-second difference between those runners' DSEs. SCYNOR getting a 4:11 or a 4:09, excuse me.
Yeah, definitely not what you like to see, but I think for SCYNOR, in order to do well from now on, he just has to get a good rebel attack, lock in the lead out of episode 4, and just kind of reset his mental, try and lock in for the late game, and hope it's enough to actually beat Justin.
And just as a reminder, as we enter one of the longer cutscenes in the game, at the end of this match, we will have a very exciting announcement. So make sure you stay tuned, not only to see what happens in this very exciting quarterfinals match, but also for that awesome announcement at the end.
Right now, both runners just kind of cruising through rebel attack. Don't think there's very much to say here. SCYNOR actually taking a death on the explosion from the barrier. He's going to be losing one of his torpedoes. But I mean, this shouldn't be too much of a problem. You can just pick it right back up.
Yeah, this is another one of those levels where you can have a random little thing happen. Let's say you don't notice that you missed a target or a torpedo blanks, and you have to backtrack. So hopefully we don't see anything too major happen. Also, double targeting can be an issue if your positioning is not great. So far, it's looking fine from these runners.
And then a first try out of bounds for room 3 from SCYNOR. He's gonna solidify his lead out of episode 4 with that, most likely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to remain very, very close. Still some huge swings just in these last couple of levels between a Disaster Princess from Justin, followed by the Ripmore issues and DSE for SCYNOR. But SCYNOR still maintaining a little bit of a lead outside of episode 4 is still a good sign, only losing about 25 seconds or so of that lead compared to the episode 2 exit.
But yeah, as we finish up episode 4, be interesting to check the win probability one more time, just to see, because the gap has gotten closer by a couple seconds since the last time we checked it, but I think their BBTs are also a little bit closer. Justin maybe having some better golds in episode 4.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that we will see that probability increase a little bit for Justin, just because the gap did shrink slightly from the last time that we checked it. Yeah, looking like it's actually the exact same as it was a couple levels ago, which is not what you like to see, because I'm sure if we had looked at that after Princess, we would have seen a much different story when SCYNOR had the bigger lead. But we'll have to see how that changes once we officially get Justin's exit, because it does look like that shifted slightly as SCYNOR probably played a few seconds off of his gold.
Yeah, getting a 108.28 episode 4 exit for SCYNOR and a 108.45 for WIISUPER. Not bad at all, but definitely not what they were hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things you have to deal with mentally when you're in a race like this is not always thinking about just how good the individual run is, but just making sure that you're locking in to continue to play the best that you can in a race setting. Because it doesn't matter if you're one of these runners and if you put up a 224, it doesn't matter if your opponent puts up a 225. All that matters is being faster than the runner next to you in this tournament setting. So you can't let those mistakes or those exit times get in your head too much. You just kind of need to keep your head down and keep going.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the start of episode 6 is definitely a good place for that mentality to begin, especially with, I would say, some of the more difficult levels coming up. Jabba's, Carcoon, Endor.
Yeah, absolutely. We also have had more strat developments in episode 6 over the last year or so that have become meta. So 12 button skip is definitely the most notable one. We have also seen a lot of people testing out new things in Jabba's to do what is is it just called the spiderless out of bounds, or what is it called specifically?
So the trick in room 2 is called Spiderful, where you use the spider to transition skip, and you can skip pulling the levers on the right to like get rid of the metal barricade. And that saves a couple seconds depending on how good your spider spawn actually is. So that trick is somewhat RNG. And then there have also been developments in Spider List itself with a new setup being found. and implemented. I don't know if either of these runners are going to be going for the newer setup, but if they do, we'll make sure to point it out.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we'll see either of them going for any of the new tricks that we just mentioned. Even the spider list setup, new setups like that sometimes takes time before people adjust to it. Similar to Pixel Disco, where there was a long period of time where it was just a select few runners who were going for it, and now it is much more normalized. So I think that's what happens with a lot of these little tricks, where some people might just think if their spider list setup works, then they shouldn't even mess with it.
Yeah, SCYNOR not looking like he's gonna go for it. I think he did end up getting a spider that would have saved time, because there's 2 or 3 spawns you can get that are just outright slower, but not gonna go for it. And then Justin not going for it either, getting one of the worst spiders possible.
Yeah, and I don't think it was one of those things where the runners decided that based on their spider spawns. It's probably just not something that either of these runners would be going for at this point.
Yeah, usually you can tell if a runner is gonna go for it because they like to do a double swap at the start of room 1, so they get Chewy player 1. That way you don't have to do any weird character management after finishing this room.
Yeah, and SCYNOR doing the auto dropout for Droid Avoid, which was successful for him.
Yeah, he also had a very, very fast clip out of bounds. It was literally the first possible force. So we'll be saving a little bit to Justin in that room.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll also see SCYNOR go for the auto dropout here as well.
So it looks like SCYNOR actually did go for the newer spiderless setup, positioning Luke right up against that platform and then looking to the left for a visual cue on the wall.
Yeah, both runners getting spiderless first try.
Yeah, this is going to be a very solid job as from SCYNOR, and then pretty solid from Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think either runner can have any major complaints. Just slight variance in little bits of time loss, but in a level that can cause a lot more time loss, this is definitely acceptable for both runners in a race setting.
Yeah, next we're going to go into Carcoon, which is definitely one of the levels that has or can potentially have the most variation, especially in like a no reset setting. Um, we talked about like the implementation of Pixel Disco earlier. Um, I'm pretty sure SCYNOR is actually a very, very big hater of Pixel Disco. He does not like it one bit. So what he does is he just goes for his normal setup for Disco Skip, and then if he misses it, he likes to go for Pixel Disco as a backup, just in case he has like a bad camera.
Yeah, that definitely is an interesting choice for what people decide to do. But I think people historically just either have a good experience with Disco Skip or don't. Um, so it's again one of those things where if you're used to a strat and it works well enough, technically a first try just going for it can save a little bit to Pixel Disco unless you don't hesitate at all, which we have seen, but that's a lot more rare just because people usually take their time to make sure that they found the right pixel. So it'll be interesting to see if that ends up playing a factor. But Justin is definitely a person who really enjoys Pixel Disco. We are used to seeing him on his streams leaning very close into the monitor for Pixel Disco, Boom Skip, tricks that require you to look for that visual aid.
Yeah, Justin also being known for using what is essentially a magnifying glass um, on his like OBS preview in order to zoom in to make sure he's actually looking at the correct pixel.
Looks like the gap between the runners out of Jabba's has extended a little bit back to 25 seconds, which is an 8-second swing in SCYNOR's favor. So just playing a little bit better than Justin did save him a few seconds and still maintaining a decent lead, but is struggling a bit with this Boba fight.
Yeah, he went for the camera pan skip on the swap with player 2, and he actually had the AI move in the proper location. He just swapped a tiny bit before they actually went off screen.
That's
So,
a terrible death.
oh
from
my
SCYNOR.
gosh. Wow. What a respawn. Absolutely demolishing that Gamorrean guard. Just force choking him off the edge. But yeah,
And dropping him.
that lost a lot of time for SCYNOR.
It did. He swapped. Yeah, he swapped to Luke while Luke was basically off of the edge, which is definitely not what you want to do. You wanted to be further right on the platform so that the AI follows you. And then deciding to commit murder out of frustration in a very cruel way. So Justin
then-
already making up quite a few seconds so far in this Carcoon.
Yeah, SCYNOR also took an unlucky death on Chewie, like as soon as he got over. So he had to wait with Luke in order to pull the lever to overlap the camera pans, and in doing so, he took 2 hearts of damage, putting him onto 1 as he was trying to force the stuff at the end of the room. So just not a great room for him overall. Gonna be going for his default version of Disco Skip. We'll see if he can get it. And he does get the clip out of bounds. He's gonna be saving time to Justin, assuming he doesn't get, he doesn't instantly find the pixel.
Yeah, and for someone like SCYNOR, where he's just used to that, you know, if it works, then he's gonna save that little bit of time. Now, obviously, there's a chance that doesn't work, but he was able to get it done. Justin pausing for about 3 seconds to line it up. So even though he gets it first try with the Pixel Disco setup, SCYNOR still is saving a little bit of time by just going for it.
Yeah, I think SCYNOR is definitely still losing time over the course of the... Actually, I'm not even sure about that, because Justin missed topless, I think, twice. So, honestly, might be a pretty even Carcoon from both runners, even though it wasn't great from either of them.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of been the story of the match so far, where we haven't seen many repeated mistakes between the runners, but we've just seen a lot of back and forth in each level, causing just a lot of weird mishaps that you aren't used to seeing. And Justin's having a rough end platform. There is a chance here that SCYNOR acts better Carcoon than Justin. Taking another
a
death at the end.
right at the end. Wow. Yeah, not the end platform you wanted to close out that level with.
Yeah, out of the previous level, it was a 25-second deficit. And now that we have the Carcoon exit, it's 38 seconds in favor of SCYNOR. He gained 13 seconds, which is crazy, just given how rough that Carcoon was for both runners.
Yeah, I would say actually he lost at least 20 seconds in room 1. So he did play the rest of the level very solidly. So it could have been a great Carcoon, assuming he just did get the camera pan skip, swapped a tiny bit later, and then wasn't flustered trying to defeat Boba.
Yeah, absolutely. Speeder Showdown is one of the more boring levels towards the middle of the run, especially when you consider the levels that it's sandwiched in between, with Carcoon that can cause a lot of variance, and then Endor just because of Endor's difficulty. So this is a nice little break. We did not see a flower jump miss from SCYNOR or Justin. It is one of the harder tricks in the run, so luckily no misses from these runners.
Yeah, I know a lot of great runners that have missed the skip, so can't really fault them.
I do believe we might have seen a missed flower jump in a ladder league match, but I don't remember which one.
See, this is like the same situation as Theed, but I don't really want to mention it again.
And again, Laser, I promise, I was not bringing that up intentionally. I didn't know that it was you, I promise.
Hey, the trick is kind of difficult.
It is a very hard trick.
But yeah, pretty standard speeder showdown from both runners so far. Don't think the gap is going to change very much until the next level, and/or.
Yeah, Endor, we definitely could see a little bit of strat differences and also just huge swings overall. Of course, there's 12 button skip, which even though it's been around for about a year now, it still is one of the more difficult, more recent tricks, just because it's hard to do that trick optimally, because doing the movement 1P2C with both characters to get over the first gate is very difficult to do fast. Now you can still take your time with it, but the collision is a little weird to adjust to. So it's just a bit of an annoying trick at times, and it can be frustrating. And on top of that, we might see other minor differences, like people not going for hill roll and instead doing a mini launch similar to the second gate skip during 12 button skip. I'm definitely a big proponent for that trick as well, and just not going for hill roll at all. But I assume we'll see hill rolls from these runners who have been doing it for many, many years.
Yeah, I think in this level especially, we're going to see a lot of differences between the strats done between these two runners. Justin, known for not doing hill roll anymore, going for the mini launch, and then also doing a couple of unique 1P2Cs.
Yeah, and we will also have to look out for the bunker and see if there's any differences in the camera pan skips. Specifically, the final one, which feels like it can be out of your control sometimes depending on which AI decide to come up the elevator, how close they are to you. There's lots of factors that can play into it, and that can save a few seconds over your opponent if you're able to get it.
Yeah, I believe Justin actually does do that third camera pan skip, or second camera pan skip, differently than what is typically the standard, but we'll mention that when we get there.
Yeah, SCYNOR doing the extended 1P2C through room 1 also did EJP line, which is just a slightly better line going behind one of the trees. Not too difficult, does save a tiny amount. Most people just don't end up going for it.
Yeah, it definitely does not save very much. It is faster, but it is not like a large time save at all. I believe the current BTT segment for room 1 actually still does not do that line.
SCYNOR getting a first try hill roll, which is faster than waiting slightly to do the mini launch. Coming up on 12 button skip, deciding to kill a number of the troopers. Jump rolls off, is able to hit the collision. Very fast first gate skip overall. Not quite able to get second gate. The height looks good. The setup was not, but does get it second try.
Yeah,
Very clean overall.
That first attempt on the second barrier skip was actually good height. He just turned in slightly too early and then bouncing off the invisible wall. but still very clean 12-button skip from SCYNOR.
This is a strat difference we're seeing from Justin, who does a double swap for his players, but does end up getting both players over first try. Takes a little bit more time with the setup. Let's see if he can at least match the second gate skip that SCYNOR got, and he does. So I would say pretty even 12-button skips between the runners. Justin maybe having a slight edge because of first gate.
Yeah, I believe the reason he has to do that is because for that section he plays player 1 keyboard, and the second barrier skip is much easier if you have an analog stick in order to do the semi-precise line. So the trick does become much easier when you have Han on controller. Justin actually not going for the unique 1P2C I was talking about earlier. In some of his like solo any percent attempts, he would call in, or he would keep player 2 called in and build. Oh my gosh, getting auto swapped with R2. I don't know how he's gonna keep Ghost Hearts.
Yeah, and
He
I
might have to
don't-
just tank it.
I didn't actually love his setup there, but it did work out, getting a super jump into the bunker. But that
Yeah,
did
and-
cause some weird time loss just because of the character management.
You can already see the benefits of Ghost Hearts in the bunker, Justin taking a death right away, taking another one on player
Another
1.
death.
That was a very strange redrop, and I don't think I've seen that before. But yeah, unfortunate for Justin.
Yeah, very unfortunate. SCYNOR coming up on that last camera pan skip. It looks like Chewy is coming up the elevator, so his option here is to switch to Wicket. And he is able to get it. Does have to switch back, but because of the camera pull here, that actually doesn't really lose time.
Yeah, not a bad Endor from SCYNOR at all. But Justin, on the other hand, he is most likely going to be losing quite a bit more time. And then this is the second camera pan skip strat I was talking about. He keeps player 2 in his R2, and then does Wicket's Grand Adventure on player 1, and then uses the panel at the same time and drops out.
I see, because he can overlap the panel dropout with the camera pan skip. That is an interesting little strat overlap. I have not seen that before. Leia is way too far to get the last camera pan skip for Justin. Just not catching a good elevator cycle, which might actually be a result of what he does for the previous camera pan skip. By activating the panel a little sooner, it throws the elevator cycles off a little bit.
Yeah, now our deficit is exactly 1 minute,
Wow.
losing almost 30 seconds in losing almost 30 seconds in Endor.
Yeah, you're talking about the difference between SCYNOR's 6:07 and Justin's 6:31. Yeah. It's a big deficit.
Yeah, the math is getting kind of difficult with these split times. Might have to whip out a calc.
Not sure what a calc is. I'll leave that to my co-commentator. Sounds like he's
Yeah.
using slang.
For those who are unaware, calc is short for calculator. I'm just using slang. Yeah,
SCYNOR with a
clean-
very clean ultra kill.
Yeah, only had to use one safety slash, so pretty solid from SCYNOR.
Hopefully Justin can match. This is definitely not one of the levels that you want to see a lot of variance on.
Yeah, speaking of variance, the next level, ITDS, Room 1, is going to be interesting to watch. I know SCYNOR he's actually known for getting a ton of torpedo dupes in Room 1, So it'll be interesting to see how these runners can shape up their room 1 and see if it turns into a good ITDS. Justin actually going for left side ultra kill. One of the few runners that does this,
No
but getting it
slash.
without a single safety slash. Wow.
Now, I did notice that
I
he spent a little more time before dropping out his other player, just so he felt good about the setup, but otherwise, incredibly fast.
Yeah, I think right side is slightly faster, because the Emperor is closer to the edge and it takes less time to get him there. But yeah, gonna be almost, I think probably breaking around even with SCYNOR, since he didn't have the safety slash.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually looks like from the exits, losing just a couple seconds to SCYNOR. Probably just due to setup time at the beginning, not due to execution. SCYNOR now in room 1 of ITDS, getting quite a few torpedoes already. But we do also know that the game does like Justin and sometimes blesses him with amazing RNG, and sometimes it's the opposite. For SCYNOR, though, it's looking really good right now. He just needs one more torpedo.
Yeah, even though SCYNOR did kind of get blessed, I'm not sure if this is going to be the greatest room 1 ever, because he did spend quite a bit of time on that second Star Destroyer just trying to collect torpedoes. But still, that's very ideal. You can't complain.
Yeah, absolutely. And he does get a couple extra, one extra on each entering, which does save a tiny, tiny amount, so you don't have to spend as long on the dispenser. Justin's not looking too bad so far either, although that ship is going away from him, taking one of the torpedoes to a different galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, now we're seeing a little bit of a drought. Oh, as soon as I say that, four torpedoes show up on screen. This is the exact commentator's curse that you actually want to see.
He has a surplus. They shipped him extra. Same day shipping. He has everything he needs.
Yeah, and now once he's actually done the section, getting even more torpedoes.
Yeah, not properly collecting them. Does get a couple.
You're getting insanely lucky, but not exactly when you would like to see the luck. But still, can't complain with that, room 1.
Yeah, not going to complain. So far, RNG not ruining it for either runner. So I don't think that we'll end up seeing much variance. The only other disaster that could happen is, of course, missing the red brick. But for runners who have been with this game for such a long time, I do think that that would be an outlier occurrence. But maybe there's a world where that is the reality. SCYNOR, though, playing it very safe, shooting both torpedoes, sacrificing a little bit of his lines just to make sure that he was able to get the red brick.
Yeah, still a very clean interior from SCYNOR. He got like insta targets on the first set, and then he didn't blank on the second, and then clean core. So this is shaping out to be a very solid ITDS. I wouldn't be surprised if this was sub 5.
Yeah, we'll have to check the exit times for this episode 6. I will also be very curious once we get through this ITDS to look at the win probability, because I think these last couple levels is the first time that SCYNOR's best possible time is lower than Justin's. Even though he's had a consistent lead, it still has been Justin who has been favored because of his stronger sum of best later in the run. But SCYNOR's been able to not only extend his lead, but now he's got a real good shot at potentially taking this match home.
Yeah, so out of Destiny, the win probability is 64% for SCYNOR. So this is almost like exactly what we saw out of like the mid episode 4 levels, except flipped, this time SCYNOR having around the 2/3 shot of winning. But I'm interested to see, yeah, SCYNOR getting a crazy ITDS 502, and that's gonna shoot up his chances.
Yeah, and the chat informing us that SCYNOR is ahead of his PB, which does make sense. He is currently still on 2:19:15 pace. And if we compare that to his current PB, which is a 2:21:37, so he still has a little more than 2 minutes to work with. So we'll actually have to be on PB watch throughout the rest of this match, which is really exciting and definitely a SCYNOR bringing his A game, reminiscent of earlier times in competition when he set a world record during a tournament match.
Yeah, don't think we're gonna see a record from SCYNOR this time around, but still very impressive the lead he's managed to take. Now he just needs to close it out with a good episode 3 and 5. But yeah, Justin also getting a pretty good ITDS, getting the exact same ITDS actually,
Wow.
502 as
Wow.
well. So bringing the prediction back to around what it was before they played this level.
Yeah. Yeah, so in this prediction, basically 2 out of 3 times, SCYNOR ends up winning this match, which is crazy to think about that, he can just maintain this lead through episodes 3 and 5, has the BPT advantage. He just needs to play solid. He doesn't even need to play amazing because Justin has given him a lot of leeway with over a minute lead into the final 2 episodes.
I think something to consider as well is Justin has some really good golds in episode 5. He has Hoth Battle CG. I think he has, or he used to have Echo Base CG. He's very close to it. He has Falcon Play CG. He has CCT CG. So it'll be very tough for him to actually play close to the BPT in that episode. So honestly, even though their BPTs are still only 20 seconds apart, it might be looking better for SCYNOR.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, as we said going into this match, just the history between these two runners and the legacy that each of them have when it comes to being pioneers of the speedrunning for this game. It's crazy that now, years later, we get to see them in a quarterfinals match where I'm sure both of them would love to have a better shot of making it higher up into this tournament. And one of them today is going home and the other is moving on to a semifinal round where they will have to either face the current world record holder Frostbite or one of the best up-and-coming new players, Dragon67. Either way, it's a tough uphill battle no matter which way you swing it. But for either of them, this is the match that matters right now.
Yeah, and that's definitely a good way to approach this top 8 bracket. Just take it one match at a time. Right now, all SCYNOR has to worry about is winning his match against WIISUPER. Until then, he should not think about like any semifinal matchup. Right now, all he has to do.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a great match so far. For all of the viewers, just a reminder that at the end of this awesome match that we've had so far, there will be a very exciting LEGO speedrunning announcement, so make sure you stick around. We have absolutely loved doing the Ladder League and then all of the amazing videos or announcements that have come because of that. The video before this match was amazing, and I'm sure there's even more to come as we continue throughout the weeks of Ladder League.
Yeah, right now, just going through probably what is the most boring level in the entire game, Coruscant. I'm sure that there is a couple of people that would disagree with me on this opinion, but who really cares? Next level, Chancellor, we're gonna see what is probably I would say is one of the most difficult levels in the entire run, and it's definitely somewhere where either SCYNOR can extend his lead or Justin can claw back some time.
Absolutely. I would lump that into the levels where it's kind of like feed, where when you compare your times to either your gold or even to CG, it is one of the hardest levels to play at a high level. So you're not going to get close super often just because of the sheer difficulty and the variance that can happen between all of the tricks. And even some tricks that people might not even go for. We do see SCYNOR hitting a successful GDS, which is a frame perfect pause buffer trick and does save a couple seconds.
Interesting deflection right there. I think he was having trouble calling in player one. But on one heart here, unfortunate death. It's going to lose a little bit of time. But honestly, this is a fine start to the level. Hitting GDS is always good, especially since it is like mechanically as tough as it can be.
Yeah, taking a really weird death to the Droidicas, not even killing both of them with the exploding blaster bolts. I mean, he probably just lost like 7 seconds in the hallway there. Usually that is not time loss that you see.
Yeah, Justin just not going to go for GDS.
Yeah, Justin playing it a little bit safer because the pause buffer for GDS does take a little bit of time to really try and line up. So just not even attempting it so that you don't lose any time by missing it.
Yeah, and SCYNOR doing his best impression from Justin in week 5, messing up the lamp jump. It is honestly quite a tricky jump, even though it looks easy. Especially when you are doing MVE, since you need to focus on your position with player 2 and killing that one battle droid. Can be kind of tricky.
Yeah, the MVE itself was very clean. His droid kill here for CSJ was very clean. Looks like 3 spins and he is up. So that has been a great couple of rooms after the hallway incident with the Droidica time loss. Otherwise, he is nailing the tricks of this level very, very well.
Getting through the elevator cleanly, I was a little bit worried considering how far back he was. If he took any longer to enter the next room, it's very likely he would have just taken a death with Obi-Wan. But getting through it without issue. Now we're on to Chancellor Super Jump from Justin here. Pretty clean droid kills. Getting the force push to get out of bounds, and then getting up in 3 tries. Very clean as well.
Yeah, very clean from both runners for MVE and for CSJ. I think Justin, as long as he ends this level, will end up saving a couple of seconds over SCYNOR's Chancellor. So far, he's just been playing it a little bit better. Obviously, he didn't get GDS at the very beginning, but I believe SCYNOR's hallway time loss is going to cause him quite a bit of a deficit, and even just taking a death at the end there.
Wow, that was still a 403 even with the hallway time loss. He also had trouble forcing the levers right at the end there. Probably killing sub 4 to it.
Yeah, and as we said before with SCYNOR, we definitely need to be keeping our eyes on his best possible time. Not sure what his current deficit is to PB, but if I remember correctly, I don't believe his PB has a great General Grievous split. Although that might be a previous PB, not sure.
Yeah, WIISUPER accidentally going into the control setup menu and pressing start with his controller. So if we do see any accidental extras menu, that could be a bit of a time loss if he just does not realize he has to click backspace to get out. One cycle from SCYNOR on this first attempt. I think he decided to stop shooting because his positioning was wrong. Hitting a 3 cycle.
He repositioned again with Cody. but does follow with another 3, so it ends up working out.
Yeah, he is getting the bad animations with Grievous, which is taking forever. I have noticed from watching some of SCYNOR's runs that he seems to get that bad animation almost every single time. So he
Yeah,
does get it in 4 cycles, but losing quite a bit of time in between each attempt.
yeah, not great overall, but notable with some fill-in information from the chat. It looks like he tied the Grievous that he gets in his PB. So from that standpoint, he didn't lose that much time to PB. Obviously, in a race setting, still not great. And Justin already off to a 3-cycle start for his Grievous.
Yeah, Justin getting a 408 Chancellor, so he did end up losing just around 5 or 6 seconds to SCYNOR. But it looks like he's going to save quite a bit to him here with much better RNG.
Yeah, that looks like about an 11-second swing just in General Grievous. And the lead is now down to just under a minute, down to 56 seconds.
Yeah, if there's anywhere for Justin to close the lead even further, this is it. Kashyyyk, one of his specialty levels, does hold a community gold. And somehow the community gold is faster than the BTT in the final version of BTT 1. Just being so good at the level that he's better than the best theoretical time.
Yeah, not to expose anybody, but there was an offer from Mr. T-Fresh to a fellow LEGO speedrunner to try and lower that segment to get Kashyyyk lower in BTT, but T-Fresh was denied, unfortunately.
Yeah, very clean Order 66 section from Justin.
This is one of those levels that if everything just goes correctly, it can almost seem like a bit of a boring level. But when you have those random things happen where you miss a trooper so the Wookiees don't follow you, there's just random little things that can cause little time loss along the way. So far from these runners, it's looking like it's been incredibly clean for both of them.
Yeah, speaking of random time losses, Justin doing a double jump slam to break the objects while trying to get the grapple for the second Wookiee, hitting that 1 pixel that cancels the slam, losing a little bit of time from that.
SCYNOR hitting the pixel jumps first try. Those also can be tricks that just spiral you mentally if you miss it. Gets very frustrating because of how easy it is. So just based on SCYNOR's Kashyyyk, I actually don't think that Justin even has the ability to make up much time here just because of how well SCYNOR has been playing.
Yeah, he's getting a 51, which is a very solid Kashyyyk. And given the time loss Justin lost in room 1, I already think it's probably not possible for him to save any time at all.
Wow, Justin narrowly avoiding the boulder there on 1 heart with Yoda, avoiding that death. Still going to be difficult for him to avoid dying in this final room. Manages to, so far, just absolutely booking it to the forcible objects.
Oh, taking an unlucky death. He got past the hardest part, which is cutting that corner without getting shot, but unfortunately getting shot at right after forcing these first two lights.
Yeah, so it looks like overall SCYNOR had a 4-second faster Kashyyyk. Justin got a 55, which takes the lead back to exactly 1 minute. We also
Yeah, I
should
mean-
just do a quick check-in for SCYNOR and see what his exit was from Kashyyyk in his PB. Looks like a 150.03. So he is about 35 seconds ahead. Looks like the chat is saying 34 seconds ahead exactly of his PB.
Yeah, this is a very solid run from SCYNOR, especially the episode 6. I think he has actually gotten like episode 4 exits that are almost 2 minutes better than the one he got in this run. I know he's gotten like, okay, not 2 minutes. That's just blatant misinformation, but he's gotten very low 107 episode 4 exits, which is like a minute 30 faster than what he got in this run. So, definitely showing that he has even more room for improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point in the match, really the story of this match so far has been little mistakes from both runners, but some very big fumbles or mishaps from Justin, which has allowed SCYNOR to maintain a consistent lead, but then has grown to a minute lead just in the last few levels or so. And like we have talked about before, that is very significant for both of these runners because this is do or die single round elimination. So whoever loses is going home. And there still obviously is a potential for Justin to come back, but at this point, as we are closing out episode 3, he actually seems like the underdog in this situation, needing to make a massive comeback to make up a minute over SCYNOR.
Yeah, I could not tell you the last time SCYNOR has had like a major time loss other than Grievous, which you can't really say is his fault. Honestly, I think it might be like the errors he made in Carcoon.
Yeah, there's definitely a few things like you could point back to Princess with losing the helmet, where it's just like not everything is Justin's fault, but I mean things have been happening for both runners, so you know it's just kind of how everything is shaped up. But the fact that SCYNOR is still on PB pace is really great to see, and just shows that he's here to bring it for this top 8. This next segment will be sponsored by Dexter Jetster. May we please get the win probability back up as we have our runners in Vader. And I assume that we will see a slight increase in SCYNOR's favor for the win probability. Looks like it might have gone down by 2 points actually right now.
Oh my god,
but
SCYNOR almost falling off the house. I'm not sure if you saw what he did in the previous room, but he just did a jump slash for no reason as the platform was still being lifted, and he was so close to falling off.
I did see it, and I was keeping an eye on it. Luckily, he didn't
I was
die.
extremely worried when he was paused to drop out. I'm like, there's no way this works.
Yeah, and I don't know why he did that safety jump on the house. I think if he had just done a jump slash, he could have made it all the way.
I'm not so sure about that. As you probably might know from experience, jump slashing off the house usually does not end you up on the platform.
Looks like Justin does have the opportunity to save just a little bit of time over SCYNOR's Vader, which does bring them closer to a 60-40 when it comes to the win prediction probability. Now, still, even so, going into the final episode of this match, we are looking at a 51-second gap.
Yeah, I mean, we have said so many times how good Justin is at this episode. However, you also have to consider that some of his golds are so good that it's just so easy for him to not play close to them, even though he might not have like a bad split overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And just as an update for the SCYNOR PB watchers, he is currently 30 seconds ahead of his Darth Vader exit in his PB. There's definitely a chance here, if he plays incredibly well, that he could be putting up a 220, but if not, still a very good chance that he could get a lower 221 and beat his PB.
Yeah, it's just insanely impressive how clean SCYNOR is playing right now, especially when you consider that he was also playing with saves in episode 1, so that's just another 12 seconds right away. So if this was a normal attempt, he would be he would actually be on sub 220 pace or sub 221 pace.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's just a grander story of what has happened recently for SCYNOR over, I would say, the last year or so, where even in BTR last year, he just hasn't been able to lower his PB that matches his skill level. So if you compare like his sum of bests and whatnot, he really could be putting up a 220 or a 219 for his PB and just hasn't had a really solid run happen yet. So compared to someone who's like Justin, who did get the sub 220 and has had that, that better time on the leaderboard for a while, I feel like SCYNOR has been one of those runners who's struggled to get a really good run compared to his skill level. He's been definitely more inconsistent, which is definitely showing considering we're on a no reset with saves, and he has a pretty good chance of getting a PB.
And we're gonna see SCYNOR scroll to EBB, even if he did end up leading out of CCT by over like 40 seconds. There's just no world where he doesn't go for GTF, especially on this big of a PB pace.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if he is looking at his pace at all, like looking at his splits. I more recently have been a big proponent of not looking at splits at all. Just a mental thing, kind of locking in.
Yeah. Surprisingly, SCYNOR is not going for the strat he normally does in this room. Usually likes to play risky and do what is known as the soft lock strat, but looks like today we're not going to get it. Maybe trying to just play extra cautious since he's in the lead.
Yeah, no soft locks today in Hoth. Definitely the safer play, rather than going for something super risky, especially when that one mistake costs you the entire match. Does get a double spawn and is double wrapping. Not to call out a top runner, but I have seen some former world record holders who get a double spawn and then choose to still only wrap one at a time.
Yeah, very clean wave 3 from SCYNOR right there. He can close out a solid Hoth battle with a good wave 4.
Justin also not soft locking, so crisis averted so far.
Dude, where is the AT-AT? He actually was like right behind him from the position he spawned in, and he had to loop all the way around the
Side
arena.
of the arena, yeah. But getting a double wrap, even though it took him a while to find the third AT-AT, he's probably saving time over Justin, who had to search for both within the first wave.
Yeah, I'm not sure what SCYNOR's gold is for this split, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was within 5 seconds. That was very clean from him.
If his PB has his gold, then his gold is a 547.
Looks like he is getting a 557. So About 10 seconds off of his gold, but still very good Hoth battle. Sub 6, you're always glad to see a sub 6.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is saving time, maybe losing a couple seconds to his PB. Looks like he's currently 28 seconds ahead. So still on PB watch here for SCYNOR as we head into Echo Base, where we will see the runners do another one of the newer skips that has been implemented over the last year or so, found by the legend himself, Mr. Then Zoda, commonly known as Boom Skip. And I gotta be honest, throughout the ladder, I've been a little disappointed in the lack of chat pop-offs for Boom Skips. So I hope that as soon as we see these skips hit, that we see some spamming in the chat and even some ratings for the boom meter. And hopefully no commentator's curse that somebody misses it once and then decides not to go for it.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut until both runners attempt it. But, I mean, when SCYNOR pops off, we better see a bunch of booms in the chat.
Yeah, we even have an insane take, Mr. Mikey himself saying boom skip is lame. I don't think Mikey has ever hit boom skip.
Yeah, SCYNOR not getting the clip out the first time, but having lots of time to set it up the second time, getting the clip. Still going to be saving a little bit of time as long as he hits the transition relatively quick. Good on him for not quitting. It might have been the smart thing to do, but at least we got a boom.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably a 2 out of 5 on the boom meter, just because of the initial miss, but at least he went for it, and it went well after that fact.
Justin going for it and getting the clip right away.
Yeah, and diving pretty
Super
far
low.
out of bounds.
Oh my... Okay,
Wow.
I thought he popped in.
I thought he did
Okay.
too.
This might be the sketchiest 4 out of 5 boom skip ever, but
Yeah.
boom! That was very solid from WIISUPER, and that's gonna give him a little bit of time. He did save 7 seconds in Hoth to SCYNOR, so he is gonna be saving even more here.
Yeah.
This is the episode 5 comeback we were talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, and SCYNOR missing the last
Oh
button.
no! Hopefully
That's
he
so
can back this
unfortunate.
up. This could turn into a big mental thing where you're just saying, "Please hit that lap." Losing a few seconds. The runner's in the same room in Echo Base. We are probably going to be down to a less than 30-second gap between these runners out of Echo Base compared to the 44 seconds that we were entering it.
Yeah, Justin just barely missing the camera pan skip, not able to get a jump roll off in time. But I think that would have worked if he did. But yeah, this is not the Echo Base you'd like to see from SCYNOR, especially when he's this far ahead of PB.
Yeah, we'll have to compare once we get the official exit in. Looks like his lead to his PB has shrunk a little bit down to 21 seconds. So still ahead, but definitely not as great as his 30-second lead that he had just a couple levels ago. Still definitely on huge PB watch, although Falcon Flight will probably be the big story on whether not only can he clutch a PB, but also can he hold Justin off and bring this match home. The gap now down to just 25 seconds.
Wow, and the live win prediction into Falcon
Oh
Flight
my gosh.
saying 51% chance of winning for SCYNOR
Wow.
and 49 for Justin. Wow.
Dexter Jetster understands the cinema that we are witnessing. Folks, it is dead even. This is going to be a heck of a closer for this race.
Yeah, I think the prediction software just knows that Justin is insanely lucky with Falcon Flight most of the time. So maybe he's taking that into account.
Yeah, Justin notably usually pretty lucky, but of course right now we hope and we should get our prages up in chat for SCYNOR's boulder when that comes around, because SCYNOR getting a massive PB would be amazing. And if he got a PB and also moved on to the semifinal, that would just be absolute cinema, and that's exactly what he's looking for. It wouldn't be a huge upset, but it would probably be a little upset based on what people have been predicting for this match. And as we're just going throughout the standard rooms of Falcon Flight, one more reminder that once this race is finished, we have an exciting LEGO speedrunning announcement. There's going to be just lots of fun videos and announcements and other things happening either before or after these quarterfinal, semifinal matches. So make sure you stay tuned to the very end to check out the awesome stuff that we have planned for the future of LEGO speedrunning.
Yeah, so far these Falcon flights have been pretty standard from both runners. But yeah, boulder. Next room, this is what will make or break the race.
Get your prages in chat for Mr. SCYNOR.
Oh, that boulder is spinning probably a little bit faster than he would like. Able to get this first target. Oh, I don't think that second one's gonna hit.
The second one's not hitting, but that one's
Okay,
open.
that's two.
Oh,
Oh, getting a
but then hitting
blank,
a
and now it's
tie.
spinning away. That didn't hit. This is three. These two are right out the front. Four
Needs
and
one
five.
more.
This is the last one.
One more off the back. And it's just hiding from him. Off the top. Needs
And
one of these to
Justin
luckily
hitting his
hit.
targets. Justin has one target left, I believe.
This is devastating for
Oh,
SCYNOR.
no, one more target now for Justin. They're gonna be finishing right at the same time. Oh my god, the gap is within
my
10
goodness.
seconds now.
This is... Wow. This
That
is
is so unlucky for SCYNOR. He had that one target
devastating
left for almost
Falcon
20
flight.
seconds. It just would not turn to the front.
That is
And now,
a devastating Falcon flight for SCYNOR. Wow.
and of course, we just have to check out the probability after this level.
Shot up 68% for Justin. And
SCYNOR's
SCYNOR,
still in the lead, but it's giving almost a 70% chance for Justin to win.
yeah, SCYNOR with a
but we-
7-second lead and a 10-second... He's 10 seconds ahead of his PB still. But that's got to be devastating for his mental. He probably knows that he has to really lock in for these final 3 levels.
Yeah, we also have the question of fast DV1 from Justin. That trick has been something that has cost him multiple races this ladder league. And we just need to see if he's nervous enough to hit it this time.
Absolutely. That is another one of those tricks you can add on to the list where if you miss it, it causes a lot of time loss, but it also is a very big mental thing, especially when it's something like that for Justin where he is slamming his spacebar trying to time his double jump. It can be really hard not to get in your head about that if you miss it once. So we'll have to see if that has an effect, or maybe if he's able to clutch it up, keep this race tight through the final couple levels. And ladies and gentlemen, this is absolute cinema that we are witnessing here. This is the exact type of race that we are hoping to see from the quarterfinals of the Ladder League. The runners visually almost dead even on our screens. This is absolute cinema.
Yeah, they could not, the scriptwriters could not have set up a better race right here. This is one of the best rivalries in TCS history. And of course, in 2025, matching up in top 8, they are almost dead even into the last 3 splits.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are so close together right now, and especially after the video that Mr. Zach Muffin created for before this quarterfinal match, talking about the legacy, talking about the history, and talking about how today another page is written in that book. This is the match that you want to see to include that in the history books for both of these runners.
It actually could not be any closer. They're literally synced almost to the frame doing those jumps.
Yeah, I don't think that this is going to let up for the rest of this level. I think the variance that we will start to see is in CCT. That is where I think the real winner is going to shine here. I think CCT is going to be the deciding factor.
Yeah, SCYNOR losing a tiny bit of time right at the start of that fight, but making it up, and they're still almost dead even.
Oh
RTA.
my gosh, even this turnstile, pushing it at the exact same time. This is crazy to see. I'm almost in awe right now, going back and forth between the two runners, just seeing them pushing at the same time, slamming at the same time.
Yeah, it's looking like Justin is going to be making up a tiny bit from this split. He
Yeah.
was about 1 second RTA behind entering the level, but that could also be attributed to the load for the opening or for the opening of the level.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the people in chat have been determining what the load difference is. I actually think that we might see almost a dead even tie out of this split.
Wow, 4 seconds between SCYNOR and WIISUPER entering Cloud City Trap, the second to last level.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we have all been waiting for. Not only has this match already been incredible, but CCT is the make or break. Can Justin lock in, hit fast DV1, and maintain this tight race to potentially clutch after being a minute behind? Or will SCYNOR hold him off and bring it home and head to the semifinal?
You literally could not have asked for a closer race. And it's crazy that this is almost going to come down to fast DV1 from Justin.
Yeah, and we're going to see him attempt fast DV1 first before we see SCYNOR hitting panel fly. So this is the focus right now that will really shape up how these final two levels go.
Okay, here we go.
This is the moment. This is what matters. Right here, right now.
What?
Going for panel
Justin doing
fly.
panel fly. Who could have predicted this?
Getting it first try. SCYNOR getting it second try. Which means that they are genuinely tied right now. That 4-second difference is gone. They are dead even.
I actually had no doubt in my mind that Justin would go for fast DV1, but I actually never could have seen it coming. Oh my god, they're forcing at the same time.
SCYNOR pop back
No.
in bounds during DVT. Justin doesn't get great hype, but that's so much worse for SCYNOR. That is going to cost him his lead.
And it's gonna come down to Bespin. Justin missing fast DV3 once. Hitting it the
Gets a
second time.
try. But if SCYNOR gets this first try, we're going to see probably a less than 5-second gap between these runners going into best.
And he gets it
hits
first try. Wow. It's actually going to come down to Bestman.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thought this was about CCT, but no. These gentlemen had a different story to write. It all comes down to the final level, the final split.
And
Best
SCYNOR keeping the helmet throughout the entire level. There's actually no way the gap is more than 5 seconds.
This is absolutely
2 seconds.
incredible. 2-second
Justin
gap.
has a 2-second lead. This race is just going to come down to who can play a better Bestman. That's it. This entire run, literally none of it matters. It's all Bestman.
It is all Bespin. And as a side note, SCYNOR is about 17 seconds ahead of his PB. His PB, which does not even get a great Bespin. He gets like a 520 something. He gets a 513, excuse me. So not only are we witnessing an incredible match between these two runners, but if SCYNOR is able to clutch this, it also guarantees that he's also getting in a PB.
Keep in mind, SCYNOR's gold for this level is not great at all. I believe it is a 459, which can be improved for sure.
Yeah, you can just look at this difference between their current BPTs. Almost a 20-second difference right now, even though they are only 2 seconds away from each other.
The win prediction saying 80% Justin, but there is just no way that is accurate because SCYNOR does not have a good gold, so it is not considering that fact. This is genuinely anyone's race. The nerves these runners must be feeling going into elevator clip. I actually can't imagine the feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And despite everything, and even some major time losses at random points in the run, we're seeing SCYNOR putting up a potential low to mid 221, and Justin putting up a 220 potentially. We'll have to see where that goes in this Bestman, but either way, both of these runners should be incredibly proud of their performance here. But even so, we still have to determine who comes out on top.
Justin having to shoot Boba an extra time, getting the ghost 5th heart. And I think SCYNOR is making up time from that Boba fight.
Yeah, we are looking incredibly dead even right now. But nothing matters until the time that displays when you enter the Falcon.
Justin getting door clip first try. SCYNOR also, both runners going for the Lando door clip, getting the insta clip. That is just what he needed.
Wow. Justin taking a death. A trooper is still alive. Everything matters.
And SCYNOR taking a death. He hasn't cleared a single trooper yet.
SCYNOR has a very rough death. There's another trooper alive. But of course, this is what matters right now. GTF is what matters. Justin setting up for elevator clip. Very fast setup. Feels confident.
And he gets it,
first
and that is
try.
getting the respawn. That is exactly what Justin needed.
SCYNOR, with civilians and Chewie in the way, can't even see. Misses. Elevator clip. First try.
He can't even see what he's setting up because Chewie's just in the way.
He is not playing it safe with these attempts. He is risking it too much, and this very well may have secured SCYNOR's fate.
Bro, why is he just attempting it? He cannot see a single thing. Gets... Oh, he's back in bounds.
He's back in bounds after 4 rough misses. Needs to shove Chewie out of the way. Should have just done that from the get-go.
All Justin has to do is hit bridge skip in under 30 seconds, and he has sealed this race.
SCYNOR may have very well, through elevator clip, just thrown this race and thrown the chance of getting a PB.
And he kisses Leia on the mid platform. That might have sealed the race.
As we know, the Leia kiss actually saves 3 seconds, trying to gain a time advantage. Our attention now is to Justin to see if he can tap it in and secure this victory.
And he gets 4 damage boosts, and he gets over. And as long as he hit the spline, this is a Justin victory. And he will take the match. GG, Justin.
Wow.
Wow. 2:20.57.
Huge
Beating
GG.
his best time of the tournament by 1 second. And Justin is on to the semifinals.
That is a huge comeback for Justin after being behind over a minute through episode 4 and some of episode 6. Absolutely insane comeback for him to just play solid in the final 2 episodes, bring it back slowly, not risk fast DV1, and then put up a time that's better than SCYNOR has ever achieved, better than SCYNOR's personal best. SCYNOR also getting 4 damage boosts,
How
barely
did that
making
work?
it.
But SCYNOR is going to be ending his run right here. GG's to him. And he's getting a 2:21.51. Incredibly close race. It was down to the wire, but unfortunately SCYNOR was not able to pull through when it mattered on elevator clip.
Yeah, that was an insane race throughout the entire thing, being dead even to the very end. And it all came down to that Bespin where Justin was just able to tap it in, play it clean, and SCYNOR unfortunately fumbled not only the match, but also the chance of a PB.
Yeah, we are going to get Justin in for an interview real quick. Yo, Justin, congrats on the win.
I can't believe it.
How were you
Justin?
feeling entering episode 5, almost a minute behind?
I mean, so I think I realized earlier throughout the ladder that I think I was like it was getting too much into my head. I think I was like overlooking at like the splits and everything. So this race I was just kind of like I'm only gonna check at the end of each episode rather than like watching the stream the entire time to try to focus a little bit better. And I kept seeing that like I was like only 20 behind out of episode 1. I'm like, all right, that's good because I lost a lot of time in episode 1. And then as the run kept going, I think I was like a minute out of episode 4 or like 40 or no, I was like 15 behind out of episode 4. And I'm like, that's good. And then out of episode 6, I'm like a minute behind. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. I'm just going to play a really, really good episode 3. And I play a really, really good episode 3. And I gained like 5 seconds on SCYNOR. And I was like, well, that's a little disappointing because now I'm like a full minute behind going into 5, like you said. And then I just, put the stream down, locked in, and I just played. I think that's the best episode 5 I've ever played. So
Wow.
yeah, gotta be happy about that.
We also have to ask about the decision for DV1. Was that something pre-match that you determined to play safe just with quarterfinals, or was that in the moment to just try and tap in a good time?
Yeah, me and SCYNOR said, gentlemen's no fast DV1 before the race, where I know that SCYNOR, he goes for it every single run, just like I do. Not actually, But no, that it was kind of a joke we made before the run. But I also did practice it for like 5 minutes. That's the first time I've done the trick in 5 years. So I'm glad that I got it first try, and I think it was probably the correct decision there. And now that I've refreshed myself, maybe I'll pull it out again in the next match in semifinals.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it paid off. And speaking of semifinals, how are you feeling about that?
Given this run, I feel really good, especially because this run, I mean, I think I was like multiple, like plus 2.5 minutes or something to best split times out of episode 2 or something. Something I was like, it was a really, really bad start, and I had some really, really dumb things kind of out of my control happen too. Like I got random pilot spawns on Princess, and I got like the bad droid cut and feed. Just a bunch of like dumb 30-second time losses. And like, the 30 seconds on Endor and Carcoon were also pretty rough. So the fact that this run ended up as a 220 makes me feel really confident that if I put this time up again, I mean, I don't know if I'll be playing Frostbite or Dragon. If I play Dragon, I think this is a good enough time. Frostbite, it's a little iffy, but I think I like where I'm at. This is a lot better than I expected. I think I paced within like a minute and a half of my sob in final, or like 1 minute to my sob in like the final 2 episodes. So feeling really good
Yeah,
about the end game.
those final 2 episodes were very clean. I think now we're gonna transition into our announcement, right?
I believe we're bringing in SCYNOR actually. I believe Hob said that both of them are going to hop in. So congratulations again, Justin, on moving forward to the semifinal round. That was an incredible race to watch. So if you didn't have the stream up, I would definitely recommend
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it back a
rewatching.
little bit. But yeah, I look forward to playing in the semifinals, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, congratulations. I was corrected. We are not bringing in SCYNOR. So we are going to move on to our announcement that is very exciting for an upcoming LEGO speedrunning event.